Well, hello there, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy. I'm a knitter, crocheter, and actually aspiring to be sewer. I got a sewing machine for my birthday, and well, my birthday was in April, but I got a sewing machine in May, and I've been doing a little bit of sewing as well. However, this channel is mostly about knitting, and specifically this video is a knitting podcast. So I will be talking about my makes for the last few months. It has been a while since I sat down and talked. I think it was about 2 months since my last knitting podcast, and the reason why is I don't know about you, but I'm based in Europe, I'm based in the Netherlands, and this summer so far has been extremely hot. Like, I think the entire world has learned about the extreme heat wave that we experienced a few weeks ago, and now as well it's like 30 degrees Celsius outside, which for a lot of you might not be extremely hot, but for me personally, it's too much. And the heat in combination with like water density is just a lot, so it feels like very humid and you can't really escape the heat. And this has affected my motivation to knit, I must say. I have worked on a few projects here and there, however, I am craving autumn slash fall, wherever in the world you are, how you pronounce it. But I am craving the colder weather. I really want to work on some cozy, big jumpers and cardigans and things. And I love small things because they, are done quickly. But I am having a few piles of yarn staring at me and being like, when are you starting to work on me? And I'm like, I really want to right now, but it's just hot. So my knitting mojo has been, I wouldn't say completely gone, but it has definitely been affected by the heat and the summer. So this will not be the most elaborate finished objects slash work in progress podcast you'll ever see from me. But I will talk about a few of my plans that I'm going to do when weather is getting a little bit colder again. But first, I will talk about what I'm wearing. Not specifically this, although I think I talked about it in my previous knitting podcast. This is the Sabai top. This is knitted in a Noro yarn. I don't have the information right now on me because I've talked about this in a previous podcast as well. If you need all the specific info, I did write it down in the description below on my previous podcast video. So you can find it all there. Sabai top, really nice, easy knit, love it. But this little thing is the star of the show. This is the Holla Bandana by Paula Strikt. Yeah, as you can see, it's like a lace. I'll put some videos on me wearing it. But this is like a all over sort of leafy lace pattern. It is a like trial bandana with I-cord edging on the side, and this has just been a blast to work up. I really loved working on this pattern. It flew by. It's not a big project at all, but also just it was so much fun. Just I really love having repeats but then kind of cut off by just some stockinette rows, and you have to do increases every other row, so it's just very engaging. And it just flew off the needles. I was actually working on the I-cord edge when I was on my way to a festival, and I really wanted to wear it on the festival. I managed to finish it in the car. So the I-cord edging is actually not done amazingly well, but I was just like, I need to get it done because I really want to wear it. And I did, and I loved it, and I felt like such a bonita girly. So I was very happy with being able to finish it on time. Could I have done it earlier and not stress myself out in a car? I couldn't. But you know how ADHD works. You just do things often to the last minute. So that's what I did. But she is done and loved already a lot. I've been wearing her a lot of times because in the, you know, the warm weather, your hair gets greasy really quickly. So this is a perfect little, you know, thing to put on your head. And I'm also kind of looking forward to maybe wearing it as a scarf when it cools down. I don't know, we'll see. But I also talked about this yarn in a previous video, but I'll just talk about it real quickly as well. I actually talked about it in my vlog that I made for my trip to Portugal, because I bought some Portuguese yarn. I was not really allowed to buy a lot of yarn in Portugal because first off, I have a lot of yarn, second, money, third, I only had hand luggage. Did I only buy this? No, I also bought a sweater quantity, but I will talk about that later. And if you've seen my previous video, you should know that I bought that. But this, the Olivia yarn, it's by, I think this might have been one of my favorite yarn stores I've been to ever. It's called Ovelha Negra. It's a yarn shop in Porto. And it's just so, it's a really small shop and it's just so cute and beautiful, and the owner was so incredibly nice, and they had a quite nice variety of yarns that I think they had some Lily for Olive and some other bigger brands, but they also had their own yarn. And this is one of them. This is Olivia. It's a 55% merino and a 45% cotton blend. And I just love the fact that the colorway and the dye like bath number is written on by pen, which I think is amazing. It just shows that it's just, I don't know, everything is just hand dyed, and I love that. That's actually not true. I don't know if it's hand dyed, but I'm just assuming it's just a lot of hand work. That's what I'm saying. So this is color 91, which is, it's kind of weird because it looks, no, it is actually, it looks the same because it's the same yarn. This is actually kind of a almost cherry red. It has some like purplish undertone to it, so it's not like super bright in your face, and I really love that for an accessory. And it would have been cool if it was bright red, but I love this color as well. And as you can see, I still have quite a little left. This is, I forgot to tell you, this is a 50 gram 350 meter, so it's very, you know, recommended size of needle 2.5 to 3 millimeter, so it's like a lace weight, I think. I have not weighed this yet, but I'm assuming it has like a little bit less than half left. So I have a lot of yarn left actually. I'm gonna make a scarf with it because my previous scarf was lost in a train ride, so I need a new scarf. Just a little teeny tiny scarf. I'm not quite sure which one I will make, but I have to think about that. But I do want to make a scarf out of this. It's not going to be a Sophie scarf because I knitted that twice and I'm sick of it. Not the look, but making it. And I think there's some really nice alternatives, but it will be like that kind of size probably. And then my second finish object, which is a very interesting choice for a knit in summer. They're sailor slippers. Wait, let me get my notes because I do have some things written down. Yeah, so these are the sailor slippers by Annie Suze. If they look big, that's possible because I made them for my boyfriend and his feet are absolutely ginormous. He has like size 47. I have no idea what that is in US or UK sizes. It's EU 47, so they're very big. But yeah, I made these for him. I think I want to say in like 3 days. This was such a quick and fun knit. I totally understand why this pattern went viral, I think 8 months ago. Yes, I'm that late to the trend, I know. I did put it on my wish list when it came out, but I had just other things to do. But this has been such a fun knit. As I don't know if you haven't seen this pattern before, I will put a little video here of me making it. So the fun thing is these are felted, so you basically start knitting, I think so you start knitting the heel, like back and forth, and then you pick up stitches for the front, and then you kind of work your way down, so you have like decreases, and then you start either a new color, which I did, or you do the same color for the bottom, the sole, and then you start kind of with the sole like here, so you have a very long, you have like this long of a sort of a slipper, and then you kind of flip over the top part over the bottom part, you sew them together, and then you do sort of an I-cord edge. That is kind of the idea of the construction. And when you do that, you have ginormous slippers, and they look like they're even too big for a clown. But then comes the fun and a little bit of scary part, the felting, which took a little bit of practice. It took a little while for me to get the settings right on my washing machine and to get them right, and I think they might be still a little bit too big, but he loves them, so yeah, it took a while to get the right settings for it to be felted correctly. And then at one point they were felted, but it needed a little bit more, and I got a little anxious, like, oh, I don't want them to get too much. But I think in the end they worked out really well. And they're just so fun and colorful. I made the biggest size for these ones, and I will be making a pair of my own, which are not going to be the biggest size, but yeah, so maybe a little bit quicker. And these are knit up in Drops Snow, so it is the recommended yarn. And the fun thing with that is that there's so many different colors for Drops Snow, you can really go crazy. I do have a plan for my color combination, which is also mentioned in my previous podcast, so if you want a little bit more information on that, I'll recommend checking out that video. And I also talk about the colorways I've used for this one, as well the colorways I'm going to use for my version. So I'm going to talk about some whips. One whip, which is, I see now I did not even finish a row, which is not very handy. But you know, that's the way things go. But it's actually another holly bandana. The colorway in the video is coming out a lot more blue, but it's definitely more purple than it shows now. It is the Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino, and I think it's called Lavender Blue. Yeah, I am making another holly bandana. It's not for me though, it's for my friend. She was obsessing over this holly bandana that I made for myself, and she is new in knitting. She's a crocheter, but she's a little bit new in knitting. And she's making a bandana for herself now, but she really wanted to have this one, but I think it was a little bit, maybe, I don't know what the right word is, but just a little bit overwhelmed, I think, to make this particular pattern. Because it is not that hard to make, but I can definitely imagine there's quite some techniques that are new to her, so it could be a little bit too much at this point. But I told her, like, if you want one, I loved making this pattern, so I really don't mind working up another one. So this is it. I think I've casted this on 2 days ago. Yeah, I think this is 3 days of knitting, 2.5. And it's just so much fun. So yeah, if you are in doubt of making your friend a holly bandana, do it. Do it. They're so much fun. So yeah, that's actually my first work in progress that I'm hoping to finish in the upcoming few days, because it's so much fun. And then I will be working on another whip, which is also one that I worked on in the previous 2 videos. But it has gone quite a long way since then. And it is the Lake Tea by Ozetta. Actual garment. So this is knit up in Lana Grossa cotton merino. No, cotton wool. Cotton wool, I think so. It might be merino. It's very soft. Very, very, very soft. Sort of stretchy fabric. Which I think is quite nice. Also for the color combinations, I think I'm working it up in the cotton merino. I want to say 35 and 28 or 29. But let me link all of the exact information down below. So the Ozetta tee. So it is a saddle shoulder construction. So I started off with the saddle shoulders and then connected them on in the back, worked some German short rows, worked my way down, and then picked up stitches for the front, worked my way down, and worked in around. But as you can see, it's not cast off on the bottom, and I'm still working on one of the sleeves. This sleeve is done though. And the reason for that is because I got 3 balls for both of these yarns. But because I did sort of the bigger section of the German short row back and then the collar in the more red color, I started to get a little bit of yarn chicken because I wanted to finish off the ribbing for the bottom and the arms in this color because I thought it would look cool as it's the same as the collar. However, I'm not gonna have enough. So I had to change my approach and do sort of the arms first. So I had similar arms and then see how far I would come with the body. Because yeah, I just wasn't sure if I had enough yarn for everything. So we'll see how it will turn out in the end, if the length will be as I want it to be. I think it will block quite a lot as well because I said it's quite a stretchy fabric, so I think it will block quite nicely. But I have to admit, before I started this project and when I had the yarn, I was very much in love with the color combination. But the more I knitted on it, the more I was getting rugby player vibes, like a rugby shirt. And I think the contrast in my head was just a little bit different than it turns out to be. So I had a few moments while knitting this where I was considering frogging it. And at this point I did try it on and I did like it more than I thought I would. So I will not frog it, but at this moment I'm also not quite sure if I 100% will love it as much. I just had a different vision of this pattern of this shirt specifically, and it just works out a little bit differently. But maybe I still need to warm up to the idea and the eventual garment. But I have lost my motivation a little bit to work on it because of that. I just had a little bit of spat. That's why I also really loved working on the Holly bandana, because it was just nice. Yeah, it's just a project of which I knew that I would love it and love making it. Nonetheless, we're continuing working with it. I think it might be really cool in the end, but we'll see. We'll see how it turns out, and if I really don't like it, I might give it away or frog it in the end. I have no idea just yet. But yeah, so for the pattern, actually, as I said, it's the Lake Tea by Ozetta. this is my first saddle shoulder construction, which was really fun to make, but I just have to see still if I do like how it looks on me and my shoulder, because I do think maybe with these stripes, because the pattern is not striped, there is a striped version, but I just got the non-striped version and made the stripes myself. The stripes do make it look a little bit funky in the shoulder part. Maybe it's something I still have to get used to, I don't know. Yeah, also because I never worn saddle shoulder construction, I just have to see if it works out for me or not. I don't know. I think it looks very cool on other people, but I'm not quite sure if it looks nice on me. I just have to let it sit. As we say in Dutch, laten marineren, like let it marinate for a bit. Just let it, you know, sit there and see how you feel about it, basically. Besides that, I think the pattern itself is nice. However, I did have some issues with reading of the pattern, like the structure of it. My boyfriend is actually, he started on the same pattern and we had the same issue, that it's a very small thing, but there is no like clear heading in the writing of the pattern. So for me, it was really vague to actually see where I should start. You know, often patterns would have like, okay, this is the introduction part, this is materials needed, and then, okay, to start off, you start here. And for this pattern, that was not clear, so it took me a good like 5 minutes to figure out where the actual cast on part was. And when I found it, I was like, okay, but is this the part where I should start? Because it was just not very clear to me. So that is just a style of writing, I guess, that was just not my favorite. But besides that, I think the, you know, the way it is constructed is quite clear. Yeah, nothing really wrong with that. The only abbreviation I made besides the colors I said was doing a half twisted rib for the neck collar, because that's just been my obsession lately. I did not do a half twisted rib for the arms. I just did a normal 1x1, because I thought that might be a little bit too much, but for the collar I kind of liked the look, so that's the abbreviation that I made. That is it actually for the Lake Tea by Ozetta. And then, as I said, I have a few plans for patterns that I want to work on when it gets colder. And one is actually the biggest one, that's also in combination with my yarn acquisition that I did in Portugal. And if you've seen my previous video, if not, I should recommend watching it. You should have probably already seen it. It's a bag, but also content of a bag. Because actually in Lisbon, this was not in Porto, in Lisbon I went to the Red Rosa Pomar, and I bought yarn from that store. This is their Pegulhal by Rosa Pomar in the color 404, which is this colorway. I mean, if you could see a little bit, oh, is this what people do? This is what people do. You can't really, doesn't really focus on it, but it's a sort of red brownish undertone with a lot of different colors. There's like yellow in there, there's blue, purple, a little bit of fake green even, pink. It's such a cool color and I love it so much. It is a, I think it's 100% wool. Yes, 100% wool. 220 meters for 50 grams, and the recommended needle size for 3 to 4. And this is used for the sheep sweater that I'm going to make, and I'm so excited. So as I already mentioned in my previous video, I was in the store and I did a lot of walking around and checking, and they had some beautiful finished garments there, and one, well actually two, because they had the sheep sweater in two different colors. They had a more of a green one, which I also really loved, and they have this in the red color. Even though I love both, I had to make a decision and I went for the red color, and I don't regret it, but I also still really want to have the green color, but I made this one. Yeah, and I got obsessed with it, and I decided to just buy a yarn, a sweater quantity of yarn, even though I was still semi on a yarn ban because I just have too many projects I want to work on. But you know, when in Rome, when in Lisbon, you go for it. The only thing was that for this particular yarn, they did not have the sort of white cream color that was used for the sheep. So the contrast color, even though it's so many sheep that it's barely a contrast color. So they were saying like, oh, you can maybe do another color sheep, and I was like, no, but I want to make white. I want to make the white sheep. So I had to get a different yarn, which but with their help, I ended up getting the Jamieson and Smith Supreme Jumper Weight yarn in a white creamy color. So this is a 100% undyed real chetlet wool. 50 grams is 182 meters. And I had a little bit, I think I had a few days of really feeling bummed because the price of this yarn is like 3 times as much as this one. So the purchase was a lot more expensive than I initially hoped and thought it would be. But I got over it, c'est la vie. I'm gonna love this sweater, I already know. And I'm also kind of excited to work with this yarn. I've never worked with it before, I've never worked with this brand. It smells sheepy. This one smells sheepy. I like sheepy, I don't mind at all, and I'm really excited to start it. So once the weather is cooling down, maybe once there's gonna be Burr in the month name, I will start with this sweater. Maybe a little bit before if the weather cools down, but I'm excited for that one. Then there's another pattern that I'm probably gonna cast on once this holly bandana is finished, and I'm going to grab the yarn for it right now. Okay, that required some digging in my yarn stash, but I found it. So the other pattern that I want to make is another felted project, but this is a sort of felted cross back. I'm not quite sure what the creators of the pattern. I will link it down below or pop it up here. But yeah, it's a really cool felted cross bag that I found somewhere. The sailor sweepers kind of sparked a little thing in my brain, and I really wanted to make another felted project. I do see, because I had this yarn, I had this Drops Alaska in my stash for a very long time, that I think I might have some moths. Yeah, I think I have to look through this yarn and do a little bit of purging because it has been into, unfortunately. That's also a reason why I should not have that much yarn in stash, because I will lose control over it and moths might get into it. As I said, I had this in my stash for a long time, but I didn't want to make a felted bag only in this color, so I did purchase 2 balls of this color of Alaska, Drops by Alaska, which is in the color 69, and this one is in color 05. I will put in a picture of how the design is looking, how it's gonna eventually look. But I thought just a really cute striped bag, felted, was a cute idea. So I'm gonna really check that yarn bag now and see how many balls are affected, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a putting in the oven and in the freezer thing again to get everything cleaned up. I'm gonna do that now, and with that I'm going to finish this video. There are some other things that I wanted to talk about, or some plans that I have, but if I would talk about all my plans, I think we will be here for a very long time. But mostly I can say I'm very excited to be in fall and in autumn, or whatever you would call it again, and have colder weather and be able to knit with some really nice wools. Because I'm not the biggest fan of summer knitting. I found I do enjoy, for example, tops like this, but I still feel very too warm at this moment with this top, so I will be changing it soon. And that's just, you know, I want to wear my knits, and right now it's just too warm. So I'm rambling and I need to cool down, so I'm going to turn off the fan again. I'm curious to hear though whether you are a summer knitter and what you're working on in summer, if you don't mind working with wool, or what kind of fabric you would like to work with. And I also want to know, if you are not really a summer knitter, if you're also experiencing a little bit of a more, you know, summer knitting slump. If you kind of paused all your knitting vibes now, kind of similar to me. Please let me know if you are, because I just want to know that I'm not alone in this. But if you are getting through it, good. I am very proud of you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope my rambling is understandable. I'm just very warm right now, so I'm going to cool off, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.